Is it possible for relationships to survive after one partner cheats? Even if one person forgives the cheating person, there are constant trust issues, even years later. It's like nothing you can do can ever be enough once the trust is broken. A small thing can become something so huge because there is no trust.
Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Almost impossible to forget that level of betrayal, pain, emotional turmoil. Forgiving betrayal of trust is not one of my qualities. So for me, it would be impossible.
I've seen a few people stay together after cheating, but their relationships have never been healthy afterwards.
So I wouldn't recommend it.
Of course, a relationship can survive, but both partners will have to want it to work and be willing to put in the necessary work. One needs to rebuild trust and the other must learn how to trust again.
It is possible. Is it likely? Probably not, but also it really is a case-by-case sort of situation, with it being really ultimately something the person who was cheated on can decide for themselves, and even then therapy will likely be needed, knowing if it was a one-time thing that you're so admitted to without being called out for it first, or if it was ongoing and then once caught became a thing, how long you have been together, what is going on in your lives, etc., etc., etc. Again, it is possible for a relationship to survive through cheating, but only the person in that situation can really decide for themselves based on this sort of post alone with no details if they think they can work on getting over it or if it would be better to move on and start new. We can't tell anyone involved in this very vague post about cheating what is the right thing to do.
It can survive, but it changes. If it happened to me, I would put the effort in to make it work for the kids, but if there were no children, I don't think it's something I could live with. Once you cheat, you show that is something you're capable of doing, and if you can do it once, you can do it twice.
Very unlikely. That trust is broken forever. You'll never be able to fully believe again that your partner is fully faithful to you. I think this happens a lot, and whether the relationship survives or not depends a lot on other factors and patterns of behavior. You may not realize how common it is because people keep these kind of stories to themselves. People and relationships are complicated. I've been married for 35 years, and there have been good years, and some really bad ones. I can absolutely imagine having had an affair during some of those bad years. I didn't, but not because of some great moral superiority, but because I never met someone during those vulnerable times. In those instances where I did make a good friend, and maybe teeter into oversharing or being overly emotionally intimate, my marriage was in a solid place and I prioritized my existing relationship. Yes, there will be trust issues if someone is caught, but there are so many other issues in a normal relationship that people are wobbling through all the time.
Relationships don't survive, they evolve. No one's relationship is the same relationship they had 20 years ago. We have different life stages, goals, experiences, and histories. We may all enjoy each other, but it's often in flux how deep that is, or what emotions and/or urges are involved with it. Is it possible to stay with and love someone after infidelity? Yes. My parents have done this by also recognizing that they are remarkably flawed people and need to be there for each other. No one is perfect. Is it likely? I would say no. It's hard to rebuild trust. Not everyone is worth the work, or willing to put the work in.
I think it might work for some people, but at least not for me. Cheating means over for me. It's possible depending on the people, but then again that's something a lot of people could never move on from either. It's never just about the cheating. I can't imagine being with someone who would break my trust like that, and if they did, it would be about them not being the type of person they pretended to be and lying to me, more than the physical aspect of it.
In the same way you can survive an accident and be paralyzed, yes. Look into Esther Perel and Dan Savage. They talk at length about it. It's certainly possible. There's a stigma around it, illustrated beautifully by the comments, so those in that situation aren't likely to be very open about sharing their story. Not everyone considered cheating a cardinal sin, so to speak, and there are a lot of different flavors of cheating that make it more or less likely to move past without breaking up.
You can move on. Married over 3 decades, infidelity in the first 7 years. The part essential step most people cannot move past is recognizing both parties' contributions to what went wrong in the first place. We'll never be the same. Some people do it for the sake of kids and be miserable for the rest of their lives. Not worth it. My parents' relationship survived, they've been married for over 25 years. It's possible. The one who was cheated on needs to be given the space to feel their anger, rage, hurt, etc. and be given the chance to move through it. The cheater needs to demonstrate that it was a mistake and will not happen again. Both parties need to put in an insane amount of effort and love and commitment to have a fighting chance.
Fuck no. You can go through the motions, but that question in your head is forever. No. Well, no, if either party values monogamy. It seems really, really rare. I have seen it happen, but only with two rare individuals who legitimately loved each other, where the person who cheated was genuinely repentant and actually made a stupid one-time mistake, and they were genuinely good for each other, and the person who cheated was given the time and any other requirements they needed for the other person to heal. Most of the time though, it seems like the person cheating is either a shitty person, or the relationship has a bunch of problems and should probably have ended before that point. When I have seen it work, the relationship is altered permanently. The person who cheated basically has to accept a loss of autonomy in a lot of scenarios, and understand that they need to help their partner feel comfortable if they go on a work trip, or have to go to a birthday party for a friend, or whatever it happens to be. Sometimes the cheater can't live with the new reasonable standards, and sometimes the person who got cheated on makes the requirements so onerous and unlivable that no one could be expected to live with those requirements for any reason, let alone cheating. The person who got cheated on will be really hurt and upset and suspicious, naturally. Sometimes they can never get over it and trust their partner again. And then the person who cheated has to be able to live up to all the expectations set by their partner and be understanding of all of that while their partner heals, which can take years or longer, if their partner ever fully heals at all. The person who cheated is usually going to have live with some loss of autonomy for a long time or for life. That is the cost of cheating and getting to stay your partner if you breach that trust that was supposed to last a lifetime in the first place. It will take two special people, one to forgive the person who cheated, and one to live with the hurt they caused and live with the new restrictions on their life that their partner needs to trust them. Getting cheated on is a pretty deep wound. It would be like meeting someone who needed crutches to get around. There are certain things they would need to be comfortable and you'd have to cater them. Accept this is an emotional wound that you caused, and every person needs different things from their partner to heal and feel okay. You might not be able to do that for them any more than you can heal a broken leg. Most people think it's all on the person cheating to do better, but sometimes the person who got cheated on just cannot forgive the other person, to the point of making life pretty difficult or restricting their freedom to such a degree that the person just can't take it. I'm not saying that either person is wrong necessarily. At that point, it doesn't matter if the person who cheated is genuinely repentant. You can't really fault the person who got cheated on. They got hurt really badly, and healing that kind of hurt is not straightforward, and might not be fully possible with the person who hurt them. That also doesn't mean that they get to treat the person cheated as a slave for the rest of their life, right? As awful as cheating is, it doesn't mean someone else gets to control you however they want for the rest of your lives. So sometimes, you can have a person who is genuinely repentant, but their partner just cannot move past happened. Not their fault, but it really does take both people deciding to enter into that relationship contract again. Basically, if you cheat on someone, sometimes it won't matter how bad you feel about it and what you will do to fix it. For some, they've been hurt and there is just nothing they can do to move past it with you. It's fair to expect to lose your partner regardless of how bad you regret your actions. I don't think that anyone deserves a second chance in the cheating arena. Point.
I tried to forgive my then husband of cheating. My children were 2 and 5 years old. It was like living with constant knots in my stomach. Unfortunately, I asked the girl he cheated on me with to tell me everything. Yes, it was a mistake, I suppose. I ended the marriage. I wish you luck, but please do not sell yourself short. I did not think I was strong enough to end it. Aside from being financially worry-free being married, I decided my mental health was worth more than anything. 5 years have passed and I am much better off without him. Just leave, trust me, you'll thank yourself later.
From my definition of working, no. Perhaps a couple can stay together, but I would never consider that to be fine.
Nah, anyone who does forgive is settling. I used to tell my now ex-husband that his cheating abuse was like taking a new sheet of paper, crumpling it. You can smooth out the paper, but it will never be the same, you will always see the crumples. It didn't help, he never stopped crumpling paper. Depends on the circumstances, depends on the people. For me, Ish cheated very early on in our relationship, and it was a one-off thing when we were both young, impulsive, and both not as committed to each other. Now 20 years later, it is barely a blip on my mental radar, and I have no trust issues with her whatsoever. So it is possible to forgive and forget, might just take a while. I know someone whose GF cheated while they were at uni. They're adults now and engaged, so yeah, it's possible. Doesn't mean it's likely though. No. Move on and don't waste your time.
It really depends on the relationship. My wife of 12 years cheated when we were together for just a few months. She was 23. We are both now very different people, and over the years worked through trust and other life issues and elevated our relationship beyond what I could ever imagine. I found stoicism, became more mindful of what I can and can't control. Realized I just want her to be happy, and truly feel if she did or does do that, then she needs and deserves it, and it's something I can't give her, so it's good.
It can totally work. Usually it won't, and frankly I'm not sure that it's worth trying, but it can be done.
Tried once. Absolutely worst year and a half of my life, and I've since lived through a spouse becoming a drug addict then dying, leaving me as a single mom of 2 littles. It was hell for both sides.
It's only possible if one person can forgive the other, and the other person can regret doing what they did but are still able to maintain their relationship. So it's unlikely, not unheard of. I got a few more years in of my marriage after my ex-husband cheated. And then he cheated again. Maybe it would work if the party who cheated could commit to being honest, but my ex couldn't.
No sir, that's something that will always be stuck to you.
Not for me, that's a 100 deal breaker. I want abide, beaten or cheatin'. Not for me, but I know a dude whose wife wanted him to hate her, so she cheated 7 times. There was a whole psychological self-abuse, self-loathing thing on her side. Sex wasn't a major issue for the guy, so he kept forgiving her and was just into that, for better or worse means worst as well. And he wanted to roll through it all. Eventually they worked through it and she got a lot of psychiatric help. She apparently has cheated in 20 years and they have a happy, loving relationship now. As for me, I would instantly be done, my psyche couldn't handle it.